اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. کیوں کمر جھک کے گائی ہے مولا کی, کیوں کمر جھک کے گائی ہے مولا کی, کس کی میت اٹھا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. وقت تلقین زخمی شانوں کو, وقت تلقین زخمی شانوں کو دھیرے دھیرے ہلا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. سامنا ہو گیا ہے کل فض سے, سامنا ہو گیا ہے کل فض سے, صبر کو آزما رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی گردن پہ نیلے راسی کا, اپنی گردن پہ نیلے راسی کا بیٹیوں سے چھپا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. راتیں ہوگی تو دیں گے غسلوں کا پھل, راتیں ہوگی تو دیں گے غسلوں کا پھل. آسماں دیکھے جا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. دیتے جاتے ہیں غسل بی بی کو, دیتے جاتے ہیں غسل بی بی کو, ہچکیاں لیتے جا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی. اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی. کیسے غم ہے جو آج چلتے ہوئے, کیسے غم ہے جو آج چلتے ہوئے بہرحال کھڑا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی، قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی، کیسی نعمت سے ہو گئے محروم، کیسی نعمت سے ہو گئے محروم، ہاتھ کیوں ملتے جا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی، قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی، ایک زہرا ایک اپنی غربت کا، ایک زہرا ایک اپنی غربت کا، دو جنازے اٹھا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی، قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی، اے تکلم بطول کے غم میں، اے تکلم بطول کے غم میں، انبیاء آنسو بہا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی، قبر زہرا بنا رہے ہیں علی، اپنی غربت چھپا رہے ہیں علی۔ صلوات۔
بارے دیگر صلوات۔ حسن حسین سے پہلے شہید کم سن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے۔ حسن حسین سے پہلے شہید کم سن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے۔ ہوا شہید جو دیواروں در کے بیچ آ کے، جسے بچانے سے ٹوٹا ہے پہلوئے مادے، اداسیس کے لیے رات غم زدہ دن ہے، کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے، وہ جس نے کرب و بلا کا سفر کیا ہی نہیں، زباں سے جس نے ابھی ماں کو ماں کہا ہی نہیں، وہ جھولتا کسی جھولے میں، کیا یہ ممکن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے۔ علی نے ایسا جنازہ کہاں اٹھایا ہے، شہید ہوں کہ جو میدان غم میں آیا ہے، وہ شیر خوار جو نا واقف قد و سن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے، وہ جس کو غسل و کفن کی کہاں ضرورت تھی، وہ جس کے تن پہ بمثل خدا طہارت تھی، جو کربلا کی زمین کا امام ضامن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے۔ قسم خدا کی بمثل حسین ابن علی، شہید ہو گیا لیکن مدد کسی کی نہ لی، ملول اس کے لیے خام زعفر جن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے۔ فراق حضرت محسن میں مر گئی زہرا، کسی بھی ماں پہ نہ اترے یہ بے امان صدمہ، یہ درد سمجھے گا ریحان جو بھی مومن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے۔ حسن حسین سے پہلے شہید کم سن ہے، وہ کوئی اور نہیں، سیدہ کا محسن ہے۔
افسوس سلام چھوڑ کے پڑھ لوں نا. باردی کے نعرہ صلوات. مولا محمد وجل فرجہم. چشم نبی کے خواب کو کہتے ہیں سیدہ عصمت کے آفتاب کو کہتے ہیں سیدہ قرآن کے جواب کو کہتے ہیں سیدہ منہ بولتی کتاب کو کہتے ہیں سیدہ یہ ذات یوں قرآن کی تفسیر بن گئے یہ ذات یوں قرآن کی تفسیر بن گئے لفظوں میں ڈھل کے آئے تطہیر بن گئے چشم نبی کے خواب کو صلوات بر محمد والے محمد محمد بنت احمد مادر شبیر و شبر فاطمہ بنت احمد مادر شبیر و شبر فاطمہ ضامن نسل نبی تفسیر کوثر فاطمہ بنت احمد مادر طاہرہ تیرا لقب ہے سیدہ تیرا خطاب چادر تطہیر ہے تیری ہی چادر فاطمہ بنت احمد مادر شبیر و شبر فاطمہ ناخدا کشتی دین نبی تیرے پسے خلق کا مشکل کشا تیرا ہی شوہر فاطمہ خلق کا مشکل کشا تیرا ہی شوہر فاطمہ شبر و شبیر سردار جوانان جنا ساقی کوثر علی خاتون محشر فاطمہ ساقیے کوثر علی خاتون میں فاطمہ گفتگو تیری گفتگو بچوں سے تیری سن کے ریزوان جنا آ گیا خیاط بن کے تیرے در پر فاطمہ آ گیا خیاط بن کر تیرے در پر فاطمہ تو جب آ جائے اٹھے تعظیم کو تیری رسو مرتبہ سا مرتبہ اللہ اکبر فاطمہ مرتبہ سا مرتبہ اللہ اکبر فاطمہ دیکھنے میں 5 ہے کملی میں لیکن ایک ہے احمد مرسل علی شبیر و شابر فاطمہ احمد مرسل علی شبیر و شابر فاطمہ جو مصائب تجھ پہ گزرے بعد خات میں انبیاء رات ہو جاتے گزرتے گردنوں پر فاطمہ رات ہو جاتے گزرتے گردنوں پر فاطمہ بعد رحلت بھی نہ تجھ کو چین سے رہنے دیا منہدم کر دی تیری قبر مطہر فاطمہ منہدم کر دی تیری قبر مطہر فاطمہ بنت احمد مادر صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد اللہم صلی اللہ محمد و آل محمد فاتحہ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمد للہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد جب خلق سے وقت سفر فاطمہ جب خلق سے وقت سفر فاطمہ تب زینب و شبیر کو پاس اپنے بلایا روئی بہت اور بیٹے کو سینے سے لگا زینب کے دیا ہاتھ میں ہاتھ اور یہ سنا زینب کے دیا ہاتھ میں ہاتھ اور یہ سنایا اے زینب بے کاس میری دولت سے خبردار محبوب الہی کی امانت سے خبر محبوب الہی کی امانت سے خبر بیٹی اس زہرا نے بڑے دکھ سے ہے پالا یہ روح میرے جسم کی ہے گیسوں والا سمجھی اسے آنکھوں کی ضیا گھر کا اجالا حجرے سے کبھی گرم ہوا میں نہ نکالا حجرے سے کبھی گرم ہوا میں نہ نکالا سوئی ہوں تو پہلے اسے سینے پہ سلا چکی بھی جو پیسی ہے تو گودی میں لٹا چکی بھی جو پیسی ہے تو گودی میں لٹا اے لاڈلی اس لال کا دشمن ہے زمانہ شبیر کو میرے نظر بد سے بچانا تکلیف بھی سہ لیجیو ایذا بھی اٹھانا صدقے گئی مادر کی وصیت نہ بھلانا صدقے گئی مادر کی وصیت نہ بھلانا ہر رنج میں اس بھائی کے کام آئی جائے یہ جدھر ساتھ چلے جائے جائے یہ جدھر ساتھ چلی جائے پھر روئی بہت مل کے گلے بیٹوں سے زہرا فرمایا تمہیں دولہا بنے آہ نہ دے فضا سے کہا قبر نبی پر انہیں لے روئے نہ میرے سامنے یہ ان کو تو بہلا روئے نہ میرے سامنے یہ ان کو تو بہلا اے فضا کبھی رنج انہیں ہونے نہ دے پیاروں کو میری لاش پہ بھی رونے نہ دے پیاروں کو میری لاش پہ بھی نہ دے یہ کہہ کے کیا بند درے حجرائے سب خرد و کلاں رونے لگے آنے کے بعد آواز سنی کلمہ طیب کے مکرر پھر کچھ نہ صدا آئی کہا سب نے یہ رو پھر کچھ نہ صدا آئی کہا سب نے یہ رو لو اٹھ گئی دنیا سے نشانی بھی نبی کی رحلت ہوئی پھر آج رسول مدنی رحلت ہوئی پھر آج رسول مدنی صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد
बराए खुशनूदी इमाम ज़माना बुलंद तर सलावत सल्ले अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I just wanted to remind you and remind everybody that's watching online to please attend the Majlis on time. We are starting every day and will be starting every day at 8 p.m. sharp. This series of 5 majalis is going to go on till Wednesday the 7th, and we are really glad to have Sheikh Muhammad Al-Hilli from London to come and recite this series of majlis here. Another series of Ayyam-e Fatimiyya Majalis is going to start from December 23rd. That series is going to be in Urdu. So from December 23rd, it's going to be a series of 4 majalis, which will go on until Monday, the 26th. And for that majlis, Maulana Zahin Najafi Saab will be addressing, who's coming from Najaf to recite that majlis. Reminder, Shab-e Aza for Janab Syeda, for Jannatul Baqi, will be Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Ashab for Girya and Matam will be held on December 24th, Saturday here at IEC. So all of you with your families, please try to attend. Without any further delays, I would like to now invite Sheikh Muhammad Al-Hilli to please come and address the majlis. Please recite a loud salawat. Allah. If everyone can just come closer, that would be great. Please recite a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وخاتم الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين يؤذون رسول الله لهم عذاب أليم. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightening of the hearts, the acceptance of the deeds, and for the hastening of the reappearance of Baqiyatullah al-A'zam, Ruhi wa Arwahul Alameen lahu al-Fida, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Respected elders, sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This discussion is amongst the most controversial but at the same time important in Islamic history. It's a question that indeed is posed during Ayyam Fatimiyya to the followers of the Ahl al-Bayt, in which we must have strong answers, but it's also an indication of the importance of its remembrance in honor of the Lady of Light and the connotations that it has on many aspects of our lives. Fadak and the discussion regarding Fadak has been the subject of much analysis throughout Islamic history. For you recognize that many a times when it comes to Ayyam al-Fatimiyya, in honor of the beloved daughter of the Holy Prophet, the wife of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the mother of the Imams, and the greatest female creation of Allah, Sayyidatun Nisa, Fatima az-Zahra al-Batul, salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. The subject of Fadak is directly related to the story and what happened to this holy lady. You find books written about Fadak, articles regarding Fadak, lectures discussing and analyzing Fadak in detail. Yet today there are a group of people from within the school of Ahl al-Bayt, and importantly outside Tashayyu', who've asked a question that requires an in-depth analysis and answer. What do they say? They say every year during Fatimiyya, you discuss Fadak. You refer to the khutbah of the Holy Lady, known as Khutbatul Fadakiyya. You analyze the different dimensions regarding this land of Fadak. Why are you constantly talking about something that is historical? It's a matter of history. It has now gone. It is nearly 1,400 years or more than that. And therefore, this constant repetition of the subject of Fadak does not necessarily fit into the modern world, they say. What do they mean? They say, very important question that we have to ask ourselves, is the story of Fadak and the whole discussion about Fadak historical, or is it something else? They say, if it's historical, why do we need to repeat it every year? History, let it be, and let bygones be bygones. Meaning, do not necessarily bring historical analysis every year. People did something, it happened, it's gone. Why do you need to every year repeat the same thing? They say, for example. Number two, they say, well, if it is history, when you discuss Fadak on the minbar, when you speak about it, when it comes to books that have been published, and for example, other ways, you are creating division in the Muslim Ummah. You are bringing about a soul wound. You are creating fitna. It's best to stay quiet because that is history. It's in the past. Why are you bringing up the past and what? And creating new wounds, they say, these people. Number three, they say, if you say that Fadak is not history, you have to explain what is it. If you say it's aqeedah and belief, why is it that in the books of aqeedah of you, followers of Ahl al-Bayt, you do not see ulama discussing Fadak? You see them discussing Tawheed, you see them discussing Imamat, you see them discussing what? The day of Qiyamah, but they do not refer to Fadak. So, if you claim that it is part of aqeedah, why is it that your ulama are not discussing this part of the teachings of theology, beliefs, usul al-din? Today, when our youngsters are presented with these questions within the school of Ahl al-Bayt, because there are a group of people within Tashayyu' today, especially in the Western world, who are on the face of it Shia, but when you dig deep, their aqaid are the enemies of Shia. Yes? When you dig deeper, you recognize that being influenced by those who are what? The enemies of the Ahl al-Bayt. For example, the Nasibis. For example, the hardline Salafis. They've been heavily influenced online, for example, in person. So they will come to you and say, I am a lover of Ahl al-Bayt, but I don't believe in tawassul. I'm a lover of the Ahl al-Bayt, but I don't believe that the Ahl al-Bayt have any knowledge of the unseen. They'll tell you, I'm a lover of the Ahl al-Bayt, but I'm not a believer that they are ma'soom. These things they will say. And they say, I am a Shi'i. Yes, but many of the doctrines and the beliefs within Tashayyu', the Ithna Ashari, yes, they will somehow dismiss. Now, this is an important question. We must indeed affirm our understanding of this particular area, and it must be discussed in depth. It must be looked at from a number of key angles. Why? Because if it is not, then we will have a challenge for the future generations when they are posed with these particular questions online and offline, in person. The first thing to recognize when we ask this question, is Fadak history or Aqidah? Is it something that we discuss within the realm of historical analysis, or is it part of theology? Yes, let's analyze this particular question to start off with. When we look at the world today, when we look at many different disciplines, we find that when it comes to certain discussions in the world of physics, like the Big Bang Theory, or in the world of biology, like for example evolution, are these discussions only confined to those disciplines, or do they have an implication on other sciences? What do you mean? The Big Bang Theory today is discussed by physicists and other scientists, but it's also discussed within religious circles. It's discussed within theological analysis, and people come forward, want to somehow use this to eliminate the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say there is no God because everything happened through a massive explosion, a Big Bang. It is not only confined to physics. It's a theory that it's in physics, but it's also discussed where? In the world of religion, and specifically theology. Similarly, when you have evolution, yes, Charles Darwin discussed it within the realm of biology, but today there are many who discuss it within the realm of religion. That's why we recognize that you and I cannot limit anything to what? A particular sphere. We cannot say that something is only confined to what? Confined to, for example, history. It will have implications on many aspects of the life. But importantly, within the Islamic history, we have to recognize it has more implications on other aspects of life than anything else. Because for example, if you study the biography of Rasulullah al-Nabi al-A'zam wa Rasul al-Akram Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you recognize that we cannot look at his life purely from a historical analysis. We look at his life from a number of lenses. We look at it from a theological lens, from a spiritual lens, from a societal lens, from what? From an akhlaqi lens. Many aspects of the seerah of Rasulullah cannot be said to be only history. For example, I'll tell you an example. At the time of the Holy Messenger, towards the end of his blessed life, he gave a sermon. When he gave a sermon, he said to people, I'm going to leave this world. I'm going to depart. Is there anyone amongst you who has a right over me? Did I hurt them? Did I usurp anything from them? If I have, then stand up now and claim it from me before I leave this world. There was a man by the name of Syeda. He stood up and said, Ya Rasulullah, in the battle of Badr, you were what? On your camel. When you were on your camel, you had your stick. And when you are moving to hit this camel to move, all of a sudden, the back of the stick struck me on my abdomen. Yes? So, what? This, I need to ask for compensation for this. I need to do to you what you did to me. Rasulullah says, very well. Bilal, go to the house of Fatima. You'll find the stick there. Bring it to me. Bilal goes, brings the stick, gives it to the Messenger of God. You've heard this story, right? So what happens is that the Messenger of God comes down from the minbar, comes to him and says, I am ready. اقتص مني. You now will do to me what you claim I've done to you. So the man says, in order for me to do it properly, you need to show me your abdomen. Remove the clothes so that I do it properly. The Prophet of Islam removes part of his clothes so that the abdomen is shown. The man comes close and then he embraces Rasulullah and kisses his abdomen and says, Ya Rasulullah, how can I ever do anything like this to you? It was my opportunity to what? To get blessings from you. Yes? Now here ulama say, okay, this is history if it's proven to have happened. But does it have aqa'id, theological implications? Yes. Ulama today they study. They say, if this idea is proven to be correct, but we believe in the isma of the Prophet, that he does not make any mistakes, that he does not sin, there's no errors. So, did he hit this man by mistake? Because if he did, that is not part of the discussion of isma. In other words, one cannot accept it and accept isma as well. So this historical event is discussed within theology, is discussed within aqaid, is discussed also within akhlaq, that the Prophet of Islam came forward before he left this world and said to people, please, if there is something that I have done, you have to what? Do the same thing for me. And therefore the idea that emerges is what? There is no way that a historical event can be only looked at from a historical lens. Within the religion of Islam, many of these events have implications upon what? Upon a number of disciplines. That's why when it comes to the story of Fadak, the incident of Fadak, it may be viewed that it's a historical incident. It happened in history. Yet it has aqaidi theological implications, number one. Number two, it has economic complications. It has what? Akhlaqi complications and implications. These are important for us to understand. Therefore, one should never say that Fadak is a purely historical event. It is something related with our aqidah. You say to me, how? How is Fadak related to my aqidah, my iman, my belief? How is that necessarily important? I tell you this, that there are those who say that indeed, if Fadak is not aqidah, you should not discuss it. What is our answer to them? We say that Fadak and the discussion of Fadak is 100% related to our beliefs. Why? Number one, if Sayyidatu Nisa herself, she stood and she fought for her right and she spoke out, when she speaks out and she is a representative of Allah and we believe she is ma'soom, which we can prove easily, then it does not give us the right to stay silent when it comes to Fadak. If Fatima speaks about Fadak, we must speak about it till the day of Qiyamah, because they are our role models. These individuals, when they do something, they are teaching mankind what to do and what to say. I have no right as a mortal, fallible human being to come and say today, I will stay silent on Fadak. How dare I say silent on Fadak when Sayyidatun Nisa, the greatest female creation of Allah and the chief mistress of the women of the worlds and paradise, spoke out so many times against Fadak. I don't have this right. This is very important for us to understand, yes? Very key for us to appreciate in the world today, that the message gets distorted. Why? Today, if I stay silent about Fadak, what will the generation in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, in 50 years time, the story will be what? Forgotten. The oppression of Sayyida Fatima will be forgotten. And the generations will grow not knowing the status of these holy individuals, the oppression that went against them, and what it means to their lives. So, at the outset, this needs to be what? Understood. Similarly, the other thing that we have to appreciate is what? The Ahl al-Bayt themselves spoke about it in numerous cases. It wasn't only Sayyida. I found over 50 ahadith, 50, from the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam, analyzing Fadak, talking about the oppression, attack on the house of Fatima. These are important. If they spoke about it, we have to speak about it too. Number two. Number three, the incident and the story of Fadak and what happened to Sayyida Fatima is 100% related to Aqidah, because it wasn't about a piece of land. It was about Haqq and the truth, and it was about Imamah, what Allah has chosen for the Muslim Ummah after the Holy Prophet of Islam. Don't let people convince you or make you think that it's about a piece of land that was taken away, and a misunderstanding, or one individual saying the prophets do not inherit. No. This is simplification of the matter. This is a matter relating to theology and aqaid. It's a matter relating to Imamah, because if Fadak was given and was allowed to be kept by Fatima, then what? Then they would have a problem when it comes to the legitimate khilafah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. No doubt. They would have a major issue in this particular regard. Now there are those who say, okay, why is it not discussed in the books of Aqaid? Who told you it isn't? This is a misconception. We have, for example, a number of the works of our ulama and our theologians that discuss Fadak within the subject of Imamah. Yes? There are, for example, books, for example, Bab al-Hadi Ashar, you have Tajreed al-I'tiqad, Minhaj al-Karama, written by our great scholars like Allam al-Hilli and others. These are aqaidi works, theological works. Do they discuss fadak in them? They do. They speak about the details of fadak because it's directly related to what? It's directly related to the whole concept of the legitimate imamah chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, we come to Ahl al-Bayt, and what do they say about this? They are the ones who are our leaders. They direct us on what we should speak about and what we should not speak about. The sixth holy Imam, Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. This is a wonderful hadith and a glad tiding for you and I, for the mu'mineen and mu'minat who take part in the majalis of the Ahl al-Bayt, who what? Invest in the majalis of Ahl al-Bayt, who are dedicated to uphold the message and the teachings of Ali Muhammad. Listen to what they say about these people. Imam alayhi salam says, Shi'atuna, rahimallahu shi'atuna. May Allah bless our Shia. Yes. Khuliqu min fadili tinina. These Shia of ours, whom the Imam is going to describe their qualities, says they have been created from the soil that remained from after Allah created us. There is a soil that Allah used to create us. What remained from it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created our Shia from it. وَعُجِنُوا بِمَاءِ وِلَايَتِنَا. Not only this, then they were constructed with the water which is known as our wilayah. They were created from the soil that was used for us. Also, they were manufactured with our wilayah. Then the Imam says, let me tell you who they are. Who are these, Ya ibn Rasulullah? يَفْرَحُونَ لِفَرْحِنَا وَيَحْزُنُونَ لِحُزْنِنَا. They express happiness when we are happy and display grief and sadness when we are saddened. That expression, that demonstration of mawaddah, yes, this wilayah can only be manifested in with this particular gatherings, this particular remembrance, the upholding of the values that the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum salam themselves highlighted and emphasized. The discussion therefore on fadak should never be sidelined or silenced. Why? Because today our maraja' have written about fadak. You have, for example, book known as Fadak in History, Al-Fadak fi Tarikh, Ayatullah al-Uzma, Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr. You have the book on Fadak written by Ayatullah al-Uzma, Mirza Jawad al-Tabrizi. You have an entire book written on Fadak by Ayatullah al-Uzma, Sheikh Nasir Makarim Shirazi, and so on. Many of our ulama and maraji' have said we must discuss Fadak. Oh, but you know, this may cause division, some say. This may cause some kind of disunity in the Muslim Ummah. That's why we have to go back to our ulama and maraja' and learn how we should discuss fadak. Fadak should be discussed with facts. Fadak should be discussed with intellectual arguments and historical evidence, not with emotion. There is a big difference today, because today we have to follow our ulama in the way that this is presented. Yes, sometimes people get carried away. They start using certain expressions, they start using certain terms about people who oppress the Ahl al-Bayt, but they are respected by the Muslim world. But does this mean we stay silent with what these individuals did? No. Please don't confuse, because today there are two spectrums within the Shia world. There are those who say, I don't care, I will say whatever language I want about certain individuals. They are on the one extreme. There is on the other extreme, they say, no. Don't discuss Fatimiyya. Don't hold Fatimiyya. Don't discuss the Fadak. Don't talk about the attack on the house of Fatima, because that hurts other Muslims. These two are not representing the school of Ahl al-Bayt. The school of Ahl al-Bayt today is represented by the ulama who are the representatives of the 12th Imam. They say discuss haqa'iq, the truth when it comes to Sayyidatun Nisa and what happened to her, but within boundaries, meaning present the truth, let the people decide. Let the people decide, yes? Don't use certain profanities or words from the minbar or from any other sources online regarding certain individuals. Quote history, and that's what we wish to do, yes? We wish to look at this particular subject from this particular angle in order for us to all be aware of a number of misconceptions that exist regarding fadak. I ask you today, if you ask the Muslim world, you say to them, what is the projection of this lady in your eyes? How do you see her? What have your books said about her? I give you examples of two individuals in the Muslim world today who are revered and respected. One who is alive, one who passed away. Yes? If you look at the works of, for example, Ibn Taymiyyah, passed away 700 years ago. What does he say about the Holy Lady of Light? Because today, we are defenders of Fatima. Yes, we are defenders of the principles and the values that Sayyidat al-Nisa stood for. The member should speak the truth. We ourselves have to be educated. Our children have to be educated. Elsewhere, everywhere, they have to know the haqa'iq. They have to be able to what? To present the truth to people. Today, I ask you, how is Sayyida portrayed within our Muslim brothers and sisters? Yes. Millions of people study the works of Ibn Taymiyyah in madrasas in this country, in the UK, others. Ibn Taymiyyah is studied in many different places. What does he say? And I seek the pardon from the Holy 12th Imam for what I'm about to say, because I am quoting academically, yes? But the member should not hear these words of these individuals. But we need to know what the world is saying about those whom we love. Not only whom we love, whom Allah has commanded that we love. Yes? Let us find out what these people are saying. If you look at, for example, his book Minhaj Sunnah, he says 4 things about this holy lady. The first thing that he comes about to say is what? He says, Fatima, astaghfirullah. He says Fatima is a sinner. It's there in the book. He says, why? Because she went against the Khalifa of her time. Then he elaborates. He says, let me tell you why I think she's a sinner. Because she wanted dunya, whereas the Khalifa wanted akhirah. The second thing he says, and this hurts, this deeply hurts in the hearts of the lovers of Fatima, that this work and this kind of ideas exist, but we need to know and be able to respond. Second thing he says is what? He says, and this is even worse, he says that the actions of Fatima is like the actions of munafiqeen at the time of the Prophet. Because the munafiqeen went to the Prophet and wanted dunya, wanted spoils of war, and the Prophet said, I've already given you. They wanted more. Fatima went and Abu Bakr asked the first Khalifa for what? She asked for this dunya. She did the same as the munafiqeen did. Yes. Third thing he says when it comes to her refusal to speak to the first and the second, this is what? A wrong action, and it's a dhanb. It's a sin. And fourthly, her decision to be buried at night is dhanbun maghfur. It's a sin, but maybe Allah will forgive her. This is whom? This is an individual revered and respected in the Muslim world today. Yes, in many quarters, even those who do not claim to follow him. Now, who is alive from the ulama who has said things that are unacceptable about Sayyida? Unfortunately, it saddens us. I must mention his name, although he is an individual who has praised the Ahlul Bayt and is generally good with the followers of Ahlul Bayt. But we must know that when it comes to these individuals, sometimes what they say things and we must make a stance. Who is this man? Allama Tahir al-Qadiri. Tahir al-Qadiri is very good in many eyes of the people. They say he is a good Maulana, he speaks well of the Ahlul Bayt. Ask him, what do you think of Fadak? I saw his work, what he says, yes? He says, no. Fadak, no. Fatima was wrong. She must never demand something from the Khalifa of her time. He stands against the daughter of the Holy Prophet of Islam when it comes to this, yes? Now, the recognition that emerges today is what? Is that when these ideas exist, we find what is known as soft power working. Please pay attention to this. What is soft power? Soft power is the ability to change hearts and minds through words, yes, not through weapons. It's been used for centuries, but recently coined as a term, yes, that has been utilized by many political powers. They say we can achieve much through propaganda, through spreading ideas, yes. I remember once I was in Masjid al-Haram in Makkah al-Mukarramah, and what? I was looking at the Holy Kaaba from the 3rd floor. Someone came to me, yes. He was from Egypt. He said to me, you look like you're one of the followers of Ali, one of the Shia? I said, yes, I am. Alhamdulillah, I am indeed proud. He said to me that your faith, your madhab is wrong. I said, why? He said, because you do not respect the Sahaba. I said, whom do you speaking about? He said, the first three Khulafa. I said, look, we have a way of dealing with the first three. He said, what is your way? I said, we look at evidence in history from your own works, and we say what? Look at what they did to the Ahlul Bayt. That's it. Yes, we stop there and let the people decide. He said, what do you mean? I said to him, in Bukhari it is said that what? Syeda, the Holy Lady of Light, she died angry with the first Khalifa. That is a fact. That's all I leave you with. He said, that can be explained. I said to him, what do you mean? How can it be explained? He said, that's absolutely fine. I said, how is it fine? Yes, the hadith of the Holy Prophet of Islam says, Rida Allah, Rida Fatima, Ghadab Allah, Ghadab Fatima. Allah is pleased when Fatima is pleased. Allah is angered when Fatima is angered. You agree with this hadith? Everyone agrees with this hadith. He says, wait, I'll explain to you. I said, what do you mean? He says, Fatima is a woman. She goes through emotional phases. That is why she died angry. Can you see how this venom, yes, begins to justify itself in the name of defending certain individuals? That's why it's of the utmost importance that I'd like to, in the next few minutes, answer a number of misconceptions presented about Fadak, in order for you and I to have clarity on a number of key issues, so that we are truly those who are in line with the principles and the teachings of Sayyidatun Nisa Fatima Zahra al-Batul salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. The questions, two questions I'd like to answer regarding Fadak. Number one, if you think Fadak is about Aqeedah and it's so important, why didn't Amir al-Mu'mineen take it back when he was given his right of Khilafah for 4 years and 9 months? Why didn't he take it back? Why didn't he take Fadak back? That's the first question. The second question is, if you believe that it's so important, why didn't Fatima herself, they say, why didn't this lady herself, yes, use other means other than the khutbah of Fadak to demand that it is part of her inheritance? Why didn't she use other ways to get her land and to highlight its importance? And what evidence do you have that she and others within the Ahl al-Bayt said this is more than a land? This is important. Let's analyze this, and please bear with me so that we can answer this question within evidence that is found within the teachings of all Muslim schools of thought. In order to answer the first question, we have to have a brief history of Fadak. We have to understand it. Where did it originate from? How did it come about? And also, what happened to it throughout history until today? Yes, we all know that it's an area approximately 140 kilometers from Madinatul Munawwara. And it is an area vast and indeed quite rich with palm trees, fertile soil. According to the lowest estimates, the annual income from the land of Fadak was between 24,000 to 100,000 dinars. And this was something that was quite evidently known at that time. Similarly, what do we find? We find it was an area inhabited by the Jewish community. There were a number of Jews who lived there. After the year of the 7th after Hijrah, the Battle of Khaybar, the Jews remained there. And they were kicked out from that land when, at the time of the second Khalifa, he came to them and said, look, I'm going to give you 50,000 dinars and you leave. And therefore he took them out of the land of Fadak. Now, how did this particular land end up with the Holy Messenger of God? It's very well known that in the year 7 after Hijrah, there was the Battle of Khaybar. There were 9 areas, 9 fortresses that the Prophet of Islam was determined to conquer or determined to defeat. Out of these 9, 7 he was victorious in. 2 of them decided not to fight. 2 of these fortresses said, we will not engage in battle with you, Ya Muhammad. When the people of Fadak, which was close to the land of Khaybar, heard about this, they sent a message to the messenger. They said to him, look, we are willing for you to be in charge of our area. This area of Fadak, we are happy for you to be the owner. We wish to give you this city and surrender. We don't want to fight. Yes. This in Islamic economics is called what? It's called fay. Fay means when the Prophet of Islam attain something without cavalry, without war, without having to fight for it. Therefore, it was given to Islam and Muslims and the Holy Prophet without any what? Without any particular battle. The moment it was given to the Messenger of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals what? Chapter 17, verse 26. وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّهُ, and give the family what they deserve. Yes. Jibreel says, Ya Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands you to give this land to Fatima in honor of her mother Khadija and the sacrifice she gave for the religion of Islam. And of course, what did the Prophet do? Immediately, without hesitation, he presents this land to his beloved daughter, Sayyidatun Nisa. Who are the witnesses? Who are the witnesses? Yes. The witnesses include a lady by the name of Ayman. You find Amir al-Mu'mineen as a witness. You find Imam al-Hasan and Hussein, peace be upon them, as a witness. You find Asma bint Umays as a witness. Yes. You find a particular individual by the name of Ribah, who is a slave of the Holy Prophet, as a witness. Those were there. And they all saw that the Messenger of God gave Fadak to whom? The Holy Lady. Now, it's interesting, very interesting, that this land was under the control of Sayyida Fatima for 2.5 years. She had her own workers there. No one disputes this. No one comes forward and says that wasn't the case. She had people who worked on her behalf in the land of Fadak. But at the time when, of course, the sad martyrdom of the Prophet of Islam, when he left this world, what happened? The land was usurped from her. Yes, as we will come to later. At the time of the second Khalifa, it was still kept by the establishment, the ruling establishment. What is interesting though, however, at the same time, is that history today tells us that what did he do? He returned back some of the possessions of the Prophet to Amir al-Mu'mineen and to some of the relatives of the Prophet, like Al-Abbas. He said, you know what? This is yours because you're part of the family of the Prophet. So he returned back some possessions to the Ahl al-Bayt, but Fadak he kept. In the time of the third Khalifa, what did he do? He said, I will divide Fadak to 3 parts. The first part I will give to whom? A man by the name of Umar ibn Uthman. Yes, his son. Yes. In that particular regard, this was actually at the time of Muawiyah. The third Khalifa gave the entire Fadak to whom? To Marwan ibn al-Hakam, the arch enemy of the Prophet. Marwan and his father Al-Hakam ibn al-As were enemies of the Prophet. Marwan was the one who in Medina said, kill Hussein, when it comes to the instructions from Yazid. So Uthman gave Fadak to Marwan. What did Muawiyah do? Muawiyah divided it into 3 and said, I will give 1/3 of it to a man by the name of Umar, the son of Uthman. The second third to whom? To Marwan, who is the owner only a few years back, yes, of the whole land, yes, the usurped owner, yes. And thirdly, who did he give Fadak to? This is not well known amongst the people. Yazid, alayhi la'inullah. Yazid owned 1/3 of Fadak illegitimately, yes, was given it by his father Muawiyah. And this is haqa'iq of tariq, these are truth of the history, yes. This particular practice of giving Fadak to whomsoever they wished continued until the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz decides what? He says that this land belongs to the children of Fatima. So he gives it back to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. But then after Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the land is usurped again, yes. And it's now passed between Umayyad caliphs, then between Abbasid caliphs, until the time of Ma'mun. Al-Ma'mun was a very shrewd politician. Ma'mun thought, you know what, in order to get the Shia, the Alawiyin on my side, I'm going to claim that Fadak belongs to them. So he wanted to give Fadak back to the holy 8th Imam, yet there was opposition from those around him. So he had a gathering of 200 scholars. He gathered them and said, what should I do with Fadak? They had an intense debate. The outcome of the debate was that it belongs to the children of Fatima. It must be given back. So he issued a decree. Fadak is to be given back But then there was another opposition from a number of people within the Abbasid establishment. He held another gathering of scholars. This time, they also came up with the verdict and the edict that Fadak belongs to the children of Fatima. Look at this. It's so clear in history, one after the other, despite the attempts to fabricate, it was very clear that it was usurped. It was something that's taken away from its legitimate owners. For a short period, it was given to whom? The followers or the sons of Sayyidatul Nisa, but then usurped back again, and Mutawakkil took it back again. And you'll find that this happened throughout history. Today, it's found in an area known as Al-Ha'it, in a city known as Al-Ha'it, but majority of the palm trees, majority of the indeed crops that used to exist at that time have now what? Been eradicated, and it's no longer there. Question now. We ask ourselves very importantly, why did Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Mawla al-Muttaqeen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, when he had a chance to take it back, why didn't he take it back? Please pay attention. There are 4 reasons. I would like everyone to know these 4 reasons when they leave tonight. Yes, I would like everyone to memorize these 4 reasons, because there are many who are putting poison in the minds of our youth. They're saying, if Fadak was truly legitimate, why didn't Ali take it? The fact that he didn't take it means that he agreed that it didn't belong to Sayyida. They say, yes. Why didn't he take it? The first reason, and that is Sayyida Fatima herself told him not to take it back. The narrations tell us that she came to him and said to him, Ya Abul Hasan, when you have an opportunity, do not touch the land of Fadak. Why? Why did Sayyida say this to Amir al-Mu'mineen? That if you are able to later and you are a ruler, then do not touch this. Yes, there is a reason. I will come to it in a moment. The second evidence that we have is what? Is from the 6th Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says, when someone asked him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, why didn't your grandfather Ali take away the land of Fadak back? He says, Inna al-zalim wal-mazluma qad kana qadima ala Allah. He says, the oppressor and the oppressed are now with Allah. وَأَثَابَ اللَّهُ الْمَظْلُومَ, and the oppressed has been rewarded by Allah. وَعَاقَبَ الظَّالِمِ, and the oppressor is being punished by Allah. This is Imam al-Sadiq saying, yes. He says, this is fairly important for you and I to know. Then the 7th Imam, Musa ibn Ja'far, Babul Hawa'id, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says to you and I, please understand this. He says the Ahl al-Bayt are not like you and I. They don't think like you and I. They think in a much, much better, deeper, more profound way. Imam alayhi salam was asked, why didn't your grandfather take away Fadak? He says, Inna ahlu baytin la na'khudhu huquqana mimman zalamana. We, the Ahl al-Bayt, we don't take our rights from those who have oppressed us. Yes, we have this thing, the Ahl al-Bayt. Then he gives the example of the Holy Prophet. He says, Rasulullah, he had a house in Mecca. When he was forced to leave Mecca for migration, his house was taken away by somebody. When he returned back to Mecca in the year 8 after Hijrah, did he take back his house? No. He says Ali ibn Abi Talib was following Sunnatu Rasulillah. Yes, he was following the path of the Holy Prophet of Islam. We, the Ahl al-Bayt, when someone usurps our rights, yes, it is not like everyone else. We are concerned about this world and this dunya. It's not about taking away the land. The 4th reason, very importantly, is to understand this. And that is what? This is not about land. Yes, this is about haqq and injustice. Yes, please understand. Because if Amir al-Mu'mineen had taken it back, they say, look, now you have your haqq back. Now, when you have an opportunity, when you are in power, you go back and take what you think is yours. Yes? That's why Amir al-Mu'mineen himself answers this question. He says, if I had ordered Fadak to return to the children of Fatima, people would never have followed me and they would have scattered away from me. That's Amir al-Mu'mineen saying. Because it's so easy to say, I am in charge now, I'll take what's mine, yes? Whereas Fadak must remain a cause to highlight deep oppression of the Ahlul Bayt. It must exist in history so that people ask what happened, why it happened. It must always exist. Fatima wanted generations to know about the oppression that she went through. She said, bury me at night. Don't allow these people to attend my funeral. Make sure my grave is hidden, so that everyone keeps asking why, what happened to Fatima to Zahra. If Fadak is returned, then what? These haqa'iq, these truths are then forgotten. We must look deeper, much deeper than what you and I think in worldly matters. Do you know why? Wallah, I have this belief, and I know most of you have this belief. And that is what? And that is, if someone knocked on the door of Fatima and said to her, Yabnatu Rasulillah, I am poor, give me the land of Fadak, wallah, Fatima would have given it. What is the value of this dunya in the eyes of the Ahl al-Bayt? It is not about a piece of land. It is not about 100,000 dinars. They can own the whole universe if they wanted. But the Ahl al-Bayt are about principles. Ahl al-Bayt is about upholding the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why it is more, much more than about a land. Question. Very well. What did she do to highlight that Fadak is about Aqidah? Yes. What did this holy lady establish when it comes to the demands for Fadak, in order to highlight that it's much more deeper, much more profound? Please understand her 3 steps, broadly 3 things that she did. It was not only about inheritance. Please understand, before the discussion on inheritance, Sayyidatun Nisa came forward and what? And demonstrated to people that this was her property. Today in Islamic law, if I have something and someone comes and says to me, this is mine, they have to show evidence, not I have to show evidence. If someone is in possession of something and someone else claims that they are the owner, the onus is on them to show proof, not on the person that's owning it or holding it at that moment, yes? But Syeda not only did this, but did much more. She said, I will prove that this land belongs to me, yes? Before the discussion about inheritance, before this idea of earth, she said, I will show you that this land belongs to me. I will provide witnesses. So when the land was taken away from her, yes, she came forward and she brought these witnesses. One after the other, they gave testimony. They gave the Shahadat that this land belongs to none other than Sayyidatun Nisa. What happened? Amongst those who gave witness is Asma bint Umays. Please understand this. Who is Asma bint Umays? She was the wife of Ja'far al-Tayyar, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhi. When Ja'far al-Tayyar was martyred in the Battle of Mu'tah, she married the first Khalifa. And from this marriage, she gave birth to Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhi. An outstanding individual, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. A man who is raised by Amir al-Mu'mineen, yes? Now, please understand this. This is very important to our lives today. Focus on this. At the time when Fadak was usurped from the legitimate owner, Syeda, who was one of the witnesses? Asma bint Umays. Who was she married to? The first Khalifa, Abu Bakr. What happened there? Syeda came to her and said, will you give a testimony against your husband? Riwayat say she did not hesitate for a split second. She said, oh my lady, I will stand and give witness that you are the owner of Fadak. She stood against her own husband and said, this land belongs to Fatima to Zahra. What bravery, what courage. So today we have a problem. Just on the side, we have a problem today. When there is a matter that is difficult for us to accept, for example, in the business transaction, for example, in inheritance, there are loads of problems in the community. When a father dies, between the brothers, between an uncle, between that person, they take a... When it comes to my own personal interests, Islam sometimes is pushed on the side. Because there is the ego, there is the desire, there is the what? The whims that are taking control of my thinking. There's shaitan who says to me, no, it's okay. Fight for this. Where is Islam? Where is Tashayyu'? Where is Ahl al-Bayt? Sometimes they're put on the side. When push comes to shove in decisions in life, yes, we have to stick to our principles. Those are moments of severe examination, but those are moments in which we distinguish ourselves as true followers, as the true Shia of the Ahl al-Bayt. Not in instances where, okay, it's easy to be a follower of the Ahl al-Bayt. It's those difficult moments where we have to put Allah first. Yes, here Asma bint Umays radwanullahi ta'ala alayha, it is of the hardest jobs to come and say to her own husband, you are wrong, you're an oppressor. But she did. She came with full conviction. She wasn't worried what will happen to her. And this is what the seerah, the sunnah of those who surrounded themselves with Ali Muhammad, who recognized the haqq and the truth must be spoken about, regardless of the consequences and what will happen. And do you know what happened? When she said this, her husband decided what? He said, okay. Did you know this? He said, fine, I will give back Fadak. Because there is evidence. There are witnesses. So he wrote a statement. He said, the land is now to be given back to the daughter of the Prophet. Here. And he gave it in his own hands to Syeda herself. Syeda took this declaration. Now Fadak was returned back to her. Did you know this? Incredible. Let the world hear the story. Yes. She went back. She had this letter in her hands that Fadak belongs to me. On the way, she saw whom? The second Khalifa, who looked at her and said, what is this? He snatched this away from her, looked at it and tore it. The riwayah said he spat at it. He spat at it. Just history. I'm not telling you academically, yes. He said to her, there is no such agreement. Now, Fadak is taken back by us. Yes. He usurped Fadak back again from Syeda. Yes. That's important to know. Now, question, did these individuals, did they give certain land that the Prophet had given as fay to certain Sahaba back to them or not? Yes. Here are 3 examples. The Prophet had given Abdul Rahman ibn Auf and the first Khalifa a piece of wealth from Bani Nadir. And he said, this is fay for you. It was not usurped from them. Number 2, a man by the name of Hamza ibn Nu'man. He had an area known as Wadi al-Qura. This was not taken away from him. It was given to him by the Prophet exactly in the same situation as Fadak, but it wasn't taken away from him. A man by the name of Furat ibn Hayyan. He had an area in a place known as Yamama, a land in Yamama that was also not usurped and taken away from him. So there was clear hypocrisy and contradiction. Some of these people, their rights were given to them. Yet Sayyida Fatima, the land was usurped from her. That's the first approach. Now, when clearly this would not work with the people and she gave evidence, now it was the moment to step up the discussion regarding inheritance. And that's why she gave that courageous, powerful sermon in Masjid al-Nabawi, yes, to demand her right. And the discussion here now is about what? Is about her inheritance. This is no longer about the fact that it is her own property, because that has already happened. Because people today look at the khutbah and they say, why has she not mentioned that it's her property? Because she has already discussed this and has been dismissed by people wrongly through injustice. Now she has to use arguments from the Quran, and she does brilliantly in the most eloquent of ways, in the most powerful of ways. And wallah, when you read this sermon and what happened at the beginning of sermon, you know that people deep inside knew that she had been oppressed. Do you know why? The riwayah says, the moment she entered Masjid al-Nabawi with a number of ladies, she stood to give this khutbah, فَأَنَّتْ أَنَّ. The riwayah says, she recited something which can be somehow understood as the following. To say, annat. Anna means a cry of grief. That's it. The narration says, the moment she said this before the khutbah, what happened? Everyone in the masjid began to cry. People began to shed tears. That reminds me of the moment in Karbala when the daughter of Fatima stood on that hill and said, Ya Jaddah, Ya Rasulallah. Do you know who began to cry? All the enemies of Ahlul Bayt cried. Umar ibn Sa'd cried, yes? Because these people, despite their hatred of Ali Muhammad, they can see the haqq and the truth. Yes? Because the words of the Ahlul Bayt can inspire anyone. But they were not willing to take the path of righteousness. That's why in that moment when Syeda began her speech, she made this particular expression. The riwayah says she could not speak because people were crying so much. The noise in Masjid al-Nabawi was so high that she was not able to begin her speech. She wasn't able to. I ask you, please think about this. Why would people cry when Zahra says, Why? Maybe, and very likely, that's the moment when they would feel a bit of her pain after her ribs were broken. Maybe. Allahu Akbar. Maybe they knew that Fadak was taken away from her and that her right has now been usurped. Why would people in Masjid al-Nabawi go into this outburst of tears? Why? Yes. Ask yourself this question. There is a reason. There's a reason people knew dhulm had taken place. Not just any dhulm, extensive dhulm on Ali Muhammad. Yes. Now in the khutbah, what does she say? In the khutbah, she presents a number of strong evidence that you claim that what? That the daughter of the Prophet does not inherit. They say the daughter of the Prophet does not inherit. Why? There is a hadith that they claim that came from the Prophet that says we, the Prophets, do not inherit. Make sure that we do not leave anything for inheritance. She says, didn't Sulaiman inherit Dawood? وَوَرِثَ سُلَيْمَانُ Dawood. Doesn't Allah says, لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلَ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ, that every individual inherits? Tell me. Syeda says, tell me to the world. Where did you find this exclusion that the prophets do not leave inheritance? Where did you find this? It is a hadith that is only narrated by one person, and that's this first Khalifa. He says, I only heard it. No one else has heard it in the history of mankind. And likewise, I ask you, did the wives of the Prophet gain inheritance from the Prophet or not? Because if it is not allowed for the Prophet to leave any inheritance, why did they get inheritance? Ask this question to anyone today who questions. You ask me, like what? They received inheritance. For example, their chambers that they lived in. Who is it that stood against Imam al-Hasan being buried next to Rasulullah, claiming that this belongs to her? Yes. They were those who received inheritance. Everybody received inheritance. But one person cannot receive inheritance. Ajib. What dhulm is this? What injustice is this? Think about it, yes? Tell me of others that didn't receive inheritance. Why is it that only the daughter of Rasulullah is deprived from her right, is deprived from her haqq? Yes? She would speak in this particular what? In this particular powerful manner, in this way, yes? And then she asks him, and all those Muslims who were there, she asks a very important question, and please understand this question. She says, I ask you, who knows the Quran better, you or I? Yes. Who knows the Quran better? We, in which the Quran was revealed in our rooms and in our houses. That the malaika would descend, that the ruh and indeed the spirit will be in our own properties, yes? Who would understand the Quran better than me? She says, my father and my cousin Ali, yes? The idea that emerges is what? Is that she highlights a very important aqaidi concept. Please understand this. Very delicate, important here. There are people today who say that a concept of imamat is a concept related to history. Who should be the first Khalifa? Who should be after Rasulullah? It's a matter of numbers, 1 or 3 or 4 and so on. How wrong they are and how simplistic they think. It is not about what? It is about numbers or whatever. The whole concept is this. Syeda was saying to the world a clear message. If you do not follow Ali Muhammad, you will go astray. You will not be able to understand Islam and Quran without the wilayah of the Ahl al-Bayt. This is what she was saying. She was saying, you have interpreted Islam in your own way, but it is a wrong interpretation. It is not the haqq. The haqq is with Ali Muhammad. That is what she was saying clearly, yes. With evidence, with conviction, with proof. That today, there are many people who say, no, why do we need to follow this? Why do we need to have this iman? Why do we need to have this aqeedah? The aqeedah is very, very clearly demonstrated in the demand for fadak that Sayyida Fatima, yes, was actually presenting. And she highlights a very delicate point that the world, Muslim world specifically need to know today. She says what? وَوِلَايَتُنَا أَمَانًا مِنَ الْفِرْقَةِ. She says, if you want the whole Muslim world to come together, there is only one thing that will bring the whole Muslim world together, and that's the wilayah of Ahl al-Bayt. She says, wilayatuna, imamatuna. Yes, do not ever be in the false idea that what the Muslim world can always put the differences aside. Yes, the Ahl al-Bayt have encouraged us, our Maraj have encouraged us when it comes to proximity, when it comes to dealing with our sisters and brothers from other schools of thought with respect and to be able to be with them and so on. But our aqeedah can never be compromised. Fatima, Fadakiyya, what happened to Fatima shall never ever be compromised for the sake of anything like unity. This is our aqeedah. This is our belief. We will never ever give it up. We have for 1400 years given hundreds of thousands of people have given their lives for Fadak and for Fatima's oppression to remain. And we will never give it up for any reason. For any reason, it can never be given up. Yes. That is a haqq that our youth need to understand. Our children need to understand. Fatimiyya, Majalis of Fatimiyya, the discussion of Fadak must always continue. Yes. And that's why Sayyida would move after demanding inheritance, which was also rejected. What did she ask for? She says, what about the fact that I am entitled to khums? Yes. As the fact that what? This land has khums. Many areas has khums that have to be given to the family of the Prophet. At least give me my khums. Yes. This was also rejected. Yes. Now, what does fadak mean in terms of aqaid as in the opinion of our Maraja? Ayatullah al-Uzma, As-Sayyid al-Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, he says in his book, Fadak in History, please understand, he said there are 4 ayat in the Quran that describe fadak as far as aqeedah and belief is concerned. He said, we're just going to mention this and leave for you to understand how it means to your life. Please understand what these 4 ayat are and how does it apply to our lives today. Yes? He says the first ayah is in chapter 33 verse 53. وَمَا كَانَ لَكُمْ أَن تُؤْذُوا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the first ayah, you must never hurt the Prophet of Islam. And then he says, إِنَّ ذَلِكُمْ كَانَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمًا. This is great in the eyes of Allah if you ever hurt the Holy Prophet. That's number 1. He says, we leave it there. Number 2, he says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. The consequences of hurting Rasulullah, he says, this is our Maraja, yes? Our Maraja, we follow what our Maraja have said. He said, we just give ayat and let people decide. He says, the second level is, if those who hurt Allah and His Messenger, Allah sends their la'na on them. No doubt, yes. This is chapter 33, verse 57. Here then he says the third level, the third ayah, after this discussion, he says is the following. Chapter 60, verse 13. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tatawallaw qawman ghadib Allahu alayhim. O you who believe, do not ever follow anyone whom Allah is angry against. Just leave the ayah, leave. Let people think what they want. That's the ayah. 3 progression, yes. Was the Prophet of Islam hurt? 100%. Because the hadith says, yes, Ridha Allah bi Ridha Fatima. The Prophet himself says that my happiness is the happiness of Fatima. When Fatima is angered, I am angered. No one can now disbelieve and come and say that what? Fatima was not angry. Fatima was angry. The Prophet was angry. Therefore the Quran comes forward and gives us this progression. Now the third ayah says, anyone whom Allah is angry against, you must never consider a leader and you must never follow. That's number 3. Now, what does this mean? Number 4, Ayatullah Sadr says in chapter 20 verse 81, وَمَنْ يَحْلُلْ عَلَيْهِ غَضَبِي فَقَدْ هَوَى. He says, whomsoever I am angry against has gone astray. Has gone astray. Khalas, that's it. These are the 4 ayat we present, yes? And that's why there is a scholar who is a Hanbali, is a non-Shia. His name is what? His name is Ibn Qutayba. He died in the year 276 after Hijrah. He has a book known as Al-Imama wa Siyasa. Very important book. Yes, details what happened to Holy Lady. Non-Shia source. In this book, I personally saw this hadith. Listen to what he says. A non-Shia says this is what happened towards the end of the life of the Holy Prophet. Yes. He says that the first and the second Khalifa were able to enter the house and speak to the lady of light. And she would not look at them, but she said this. She says, أَرَأَيْتُكُمَا إِنْ حَدَّثْتُكُمَا عَنْ حَدِيثِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. She says, I'm going to quote a hadith of the Holy Prophet. And I'm going to ask you, did you hear the Prophet say it or not? أَلَمْ تَسْمَعَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ يَقُولُ. Did you not hear the Prophet say, رِضَى اللَّهِ رِضَى فَاطِمَةٍ مِّن رِضَاي. That Fatima's happiness is my happiness. وَسَخَطُ فَاطِمَةٍ سَخَطِي. And the anger of Fatima is my anger. فَمَنْ أَسْخَطَ فَاطِمَةٍ فَقَدْ أَسْخَطَنِي. Whomsoever angers Fatima has angered me. قَالَا نَعَمْ. They said, yes, we have heard it. Then they said, سَمِعْنَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. We definitely agree, we have heard this from Rasulullah. Then she says this, listen to this. She says, إِنِّي أُشْهِدُ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ. She wants to affirm this. She says, I bear witness before Allah and His malaika, أَنَّكُمَا أَسْخَطْتُمَانِي. You made me angry. وَلَمْ تُرْضِيَانِي. And you have never made me happy. وَلَئِنْ لَقِيتُ النَّبِيِّ لَأَشْكُوَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْهِ. When I meet a prophet, I will complain against you. That's it. We present the haqa'iq, the truth. That is the truth. That is what has happened, yes? These are the narrations. This is the Quran. You put them together and now you recognize how Fadak and what happened to Fatima is aqeedah. It's aqeedah. It's not history, yes? It is about beliefs. It is about concept of what? Of what is right and wrong. Wallah, Fadak is about Jannah and Jahannam. You have to then choose, yes, in this particular discussion from the Quran and from reliable hadith. That's why we must always keep the masa'ib of this holy lady, yes, indeed vivid in our minds. We must always remember what happened to her and the difficulties and the pain and the suffering that she went through, because indeed we will never be able to feel the suffering of Fatima. What she went through, yes, even if we are hurt, even if we shed the tears, we can never ever feel what she went through. I would like to quote to you in this musibah what this man Ibn Qutayba says in his book about what happened to Janab Syeda. This is what from a non-Shia source, yes? He says, don't think that the attack on Fatima was only once. They attacked the house twice. The attack on the house happened twice, he says. He says, on the first instance, they gathered around the house and they put wood next to the door. And they called out, Ya Ali, come out. You must come out. Because they wanted to force him to give bay'ah. But they realized that inside the house there was a number of individuals. The narration says the number of people with Amir al-Mu'mineen, with Syeda, were quite a few. So they did not go ahead with what they wanted to do. They left. They came back a few days later. They chose a time where there wasn't many people inside the house. When they came forward, they did what? Once again, they placed these woods next to the door. Now, they began to demand once again that Amir al-Mu'mineen leaves the house. All of a sudden, the command was made by the second, and that is, begin to what? Light up the wood. When they began to light up the wood, they said to him, Inna fil bayti Fatima. Inside the house there is Fatima. How can you burn it down? Yes. He said, wa'in, and so what? So what? Even if there is. Yes. That moment, what happens? Yes. The narration here in the book of Ibn Qutaybah says, Fatima, peace be upon her, came behind the door. She began to smell the smoke. She said to them, why are you here? What are you doing? What is it that you want? Yes. They said to her, we would like to take Ali. Our what? Our demand is that Ali is what? Is taken out from the house. She said, I am asking you to leave. You must leave, and I am telling you, you have to go. Yes. There is still a discussion going on. Yes. There is still a discussion. Syeda is talking behind the door. The door is closed. Just imagine that heartbreaking moment. Yes. Syeda is behind the door. She is talking to them. Yes. They are speaking from the other side. She is telling them, you must go. This is the house of the Prophet. Yes. Which house is this? The same house that for 6 months Rasulullah knocks on the door. Now, please understand this. Syeda herself says to Rasulullah when he was alive, Ya Rasulullah, please don't knock on the door. Enter, this is your house. But Rasulullah was saying, I knock on the door because there will be a time where people will not knock on the door. They will force the door, of course, yes. The Prophet seeks permission, but others did not seek permission, yes. Syeda is talking behind the door. All of a sudden, the command is made. Oh, Qanfudh, push the door. Syeda is still talking. There is no warning. The door is pushed so heavily, so strongly, that Syeda is then squeezed between the wall and the door. But the squeezing is not only this. The door has a nail. The nail ruptures the lungs of Fatima. It breaks the ribs of Fatima. Fatima drops to the ground. She calls, Ya Rasulullah. Wa Muhammada. Wa Abata. Please understand, narrations tell us at that moment, please understand, at that moment she had not lost the baby, yes. At that moment, then some narration says she had not lost the baby. They came inside by force. They went to Amir al-Mu'mineen, yes. Wallah, the narration says, Amir al-Mu'mineen grabbed one of them, put him on the ground, started to suffocate his neck. How dare you do this? Wallah, if it wasn't for the instructions of my Rasulullah, I would have known what to do with you, yes? But the Prophet said to him, Ya Ali, be patient, yes? At that moment, they grabbed Amir al-Mu'mineen, they put a rope on his neck and on his hands, and they came to drag him. This is when the calamity, the second part of the calamity happened. The riwayah says she stood up. Fatima stood up. When she stood up, they were dragging Ali. This time when she stood up, they hit the door again. The door hit her once again. She collapses on the ground. Now Muhsin is gone. Now the baby is gone. Now the son of Rasulullah is gone. Now the son of Ali and Fatima is gone. The riwayah says, when she drops on the second time, yes, she is what? In this state. She now calls Fidda. Oh Fidda, come and help me because my baby is gone. My baby is gone, yes. The riwayah says, when she was still in the ground, this particular wretched man, Qanfudh, he finds her on the ground. After pushing the door second time, what does he do? He has a sword. All of a sudden, he hits her with the sword. Then he has a whip. In order to stop her from standing again, he strikes Sayyidah Fatima with a whip on her shoulders. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. The riwayah does not end there, yes. The riwayah says what? Imam al-Hasan says to his father, he says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, oh father, do you know what they did after they took you away? Yes. What did they do? Yes. Oh father, when they took you away, my mother stood up, yes. She stood up and we all wanted to follow. The moment we left the house, they looked at us from behind. One of them stopped, yes? He came, he looked at our mother Fatima. He raised his hands and struck the face. And struck the face of our mother Fatima. Father Ali, they bruised our mother's face. Ya Zahra, Ya Fatima. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, that's why my beloved Fatima, towards the end of her life, she does not look at me with her eyes. She always had her head down. She didn't want me to look at the bruises on her face. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها يا رب العالمين. Ya Allah, we are here gathered as the lovers of Fatima to Zahra. Ya Allah, we ask you and we beseech you to make us of those who always remember the oppression of Fatima. We remember the oppression on her and the usurping of her rights and the rights of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ya Allah, allow us to hold Majlis al-Fatimiyya and to spread the teachings of this holy lady and the Ahl al-Bayt. Ya Allah, allow us to see the day in which we are able to cry over the musibah of Fatima next to the grave of Fatima. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam and make us of his devout and sincere followers. Ma'tam Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. کونو مقام برپا ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا کونو ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا کونو مقام برپا ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا کونو مقام برپا ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا بعد رسول اکرم کیا وقت آ پڑا تھا ہر لمحہ تھے مصائب دل ٹکڑے ہو رہا تھا 18 سال کا سن اور ہاتھ میں عصا تھا 18 سال کا سن اور ہاتھ میں عصا تھا ان آفتوں میں جینا زہرا کا حوصلہ تھا کونو مقام برپا ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا کونو مقام برپا ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا سہتی رہی مصیبت پہ ہم نبی کی بیٹی کرتی تھی صبر ہر دم مظلوم شاہزادی پہلو شکستہ بی بی خود پیستی تھی چکی پہلو دنیا سے جا رہی ہے خدمات میں مصطفیٰ کی کونوں مقام کا کونوں مقام برپا غربت کا ہے زمانہ کیسی یہ بے کسی ہے مولا دو جہاں پر افتاد یہ نہیں ہے مشکل کشا کیسی مشکل کی یہ گھڑی ہے مشکل تنہائی مرتضیٰ کی آنسوں بہا رہی ہے کونوں مقام کونوں مقام برپا دیکھا جنازہ ماں کا روئے حسین مضطر آئی صدائے زہرا یہ ماں نثار تجھ پر رونا تیرا گوارا کیسے کرے گی مادر رونا گوارا کیسے کرے گی سینے سے میں لگا لوں آجا حسین دلبر کونوں مقام کونوں مقام زہرا کا تو جنازہ تاریخ شب میں اٹھا یاد آتے ہیں رشید اب بازار شام و کوفہ وہ بیٹیاں علی کی بے چادری کا چرچا وہ چادری کا چرچا وہ عالم اسیری وہ اونٹ بے کجاوا کونوں مقام ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا کونوں مقام ماتم ہے فاطمہ کا
السلام علیکم جميع شهداء دشت کربلا خصوصا سیدی مولانا ابو الفضل عباس ابن امیر المؤمنین السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم یا غریب الغرباء السلام علیکم یا معین الضعفاء الفقراء سلطان ابو الحسن یا علی ابن موسی رضا السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم صاحب العصر والزمان السلام علیکم شریک القرآن السلام علیکم یا مظہر الایمان اجل اللہ تعالی فرجک سأل اللہ تعالی مخرجک و ظہورک وجعلنا من اعوانک و انصارک ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. مومنین آپ تمام سے گزارش ہے کہ برائے مہربانی وقت کی پابندی کے ساتھ تشریف لا لیں. مجالس میں ٹھیک 8 بجے انشاءاللہ کل شروع ہو جائے گی.